Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Before the show is over, we will lay out a path for you to win $1 million on the Super Bowl.
Hi, this is Arif Hassan from the Wide Left Substack. I am stealing the valor of a Pakistani urban planner.
What's up? I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. Have been fully radicalized against the Tennessee Volunteers.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman, and these guys lost a bet. They owe me money, and today I'm here to collect.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party.
Super Bowl edition of the Minnesota Football Party. Welcome in on Locked On Sports Minnesota's YouTube channel. Please subscribe and catch us on the 24/7 YouTube live stream. Also find us on the Locked On Vikings audio feed where Luke Braun produces Monday through Friday episodes on the Minnesota Vikings. We're glad to have you with us today on an episode that is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code, all lowercase, LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. And on today's show, we continue our series, which has been branded per Twitter user D's at Macho Meech, I believe. Thank you for the name. Sign or sayonara? K.J. Osborn. Do the Vikings bring him back or let him go? Tight end free agency targets. And the pass-catching theme continues with wide receiver Ron Johnson joining the show for his Thursday appearance. And then at the end of the show, Luke Inman cashes in his bet that he won with our postseason betting contest, and we will pool our minds together to come up with the ultimate Super Bowl parlay and other fun props. But we begin with sign or sayonara, the KJ Osborn story. He is a free agent, and the Vikings have the option to bring him back, presumably as the wide receiver 3. I guess we can get into the Justin Jefferson comments, too, to judge whether he's going to be back or not. I think he is. He thinks he is. But KJ Osborn, free agent after 4 years in Minnesota. Now, the best comp, guys, that I could find for this free agency situation was Kendrick Bourne. Similar numbers through his first contract, similar age, and he signed in New England for 3 years, $15 million. And that was back in 2021, so the cap's gone up since then. So I guess the question amounts to, Luke Braun, we'll start with you. Would you bring back KJ Osborn at minimum $5 million per year, maybe 6 or 7?
I feel very ambivalent to this. Like, I feel like he needed to do better in his contract year to like earn that like true 3-year deal. I think for him, he probably has more money to make if he hits the open market and can kind of pit teams against each other, which kind of tells me I don't know if I would necessarily expect him to be back, considering he lost the wide receiver 2 job to a first-round pick in his contract year. But it was just, an inconsistent season. It's a very it's very Jarius Wright. It's so Jarius Wright. It's just this guy that like clutched up a bunch of third downs. But at the end of his rookie contract, he go, I don't know if this guy's like worth spending money on.
They did extend Jarius Wright. They just regretted it.
And then promptly, openly shopped him.
They extended him, and they were like, whoa. And then they shopped him, and then they needed him.
Because they had
Charles Johnson.
I remember
young Thielen, rookie Thielen,
being really mad that he was gone when they were dealing with like Mike Wallace.
I still think the Jarius Wright deal was a pretty good deal.
Pretty sure Mike Wallace was gone before Jarius Wright was gone.
Was it Greg Jennings then?
Oh man, this is really catastrophic levels of name a guy.
Yeah, we're out there.
It was the 2014 to 2016 Vikings.
I remember
were basically
Jarius Wright was on the Miracle team. Like he was still around at that point.
He was on the Miracle team.
So,
that was like the Aldrick Robinson year then.
My lasting memory of Jarius Wright is the most uncharacteristic Jarius Wright play, which is the screen he took to the house in overtime against the Jets for like 76 yards, and Teddy was credited with the fourth quarter.
Teddy and the Jets.
Yeah, right.
That's right, baby. Yeah.
Credited with the comeback of the game-winning drive, and it's like he threw a 76-yard screen. And everyone's like, no, it's Teddy actually did it because he's the one who checked into the play.
Was that versus Gino?
So
who was the quarterback for the Jets?
That was Gino.
Would have been Gino, yeah.
Gino game.
Wow, incredible.
And Sheldon Richardson,
both legendary backup quarterbacks, although Gino turned it into a starter and Teddy turned it into becoming the most beloved high school coach in the country, I think. Neither's bad, honestly. But yeah, you bring it back to Osborn. The thing with Jarius Wright is that he was a fair bit more reliable, or if he was not more reliable, I remember him being more reliable, which is an important part of the conversation. And so it felt like a mistake to get rid of Jarius Wright. It does not feel like a mistake to let Osborn walk. I still think they should extend him, obviously, pending kind of what the numbers look like. But I wouldn't feel as broken up as if they had let Jarius Wright walk, or when they actually did shop him. So I don't think that they're analogous. I think that the Vikings receiver situation is obviously substantially more stable. You hope for a Justin Jefferson extension. Obviously, you don't need it, but I think for cap relief purposes, that would be nice. But yeah, I think that Osborn you said born 3 years ago was at $5 million a year. So Osborn at 6.5. I don't know what the cap expension is, like 7% a year. At 6.5. Right. I think I'm comfortable with that. That's not a wonderful deal, but it's not backbreaking. And I think that the Vikings should invest in a mid or late round receiver. In fact, I think I've got a mock draft going up at Zone Coverage while this show records. That includes like a 7th round receiver that I'm like jazzed to the core about. He's going to get cut right away. I'm so jazzed about this guy.
Let's go
right away.
But I do think that there's like a 5th, 6th, 7th round receiver that the Vikings should. And if they don't like trade around to get a 3rd round pick or something like that, they've got like 8 picks on day 3. 2 of them can be used on receiver.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
everybody loves rooting for KJ, watching a late day 3 pick work his way up like he did. Problem is, like Luke said, coming off a big down year, not what you want during a contract year. I think he was top 5 in the league with 7 drops, I want to say. So you never really got the big splash or chunk plays like you got in 2022, like that game winner versus Detroit, or, that big game versus the Colts, the big comeback. And, again, is market, okay, 5, 6, 7-ish in that range with so many other holes on the roster. I think I'd rather take that money, put it towards a cornerback or a defensive line, or even Dalton Reisner we talked about last week. If it came down to keeping one guy or the other, they liked what they saw from Jalen Nailor in camp before he got hurt. Powell's, still a good option if you want to bring him back as a cheap number 4. And then, just like Arif said, knowing how stacked this wide receiver class is, again, I feel like you have a better exit strategy with all those other options compared to your plan B and C with, other positions that we've talked about this year. So I think it's pretty likely they walk, save the money, dump another day 3 pick, like Arika said, and try to, do it all over again. Jarius Wright, KJ Osborn,
Nailor's alive.
Do it again.
We'll be back.
The circle of life continues. These day 3 wide receiver 3 picks. Do it again.
You pay for ADOT guys, you pay for yards per route run guys, you pay for guys that can stretch the field. And I'm the biggest KJ Osborn fan club guy of all time, and he just doesn't do that. He's not a particularly efficient receiver because you have the best intermediate receiver in the game, best receiver in the game, Justin Jefferson. You've got your vertical field stretcher in Addison. So with Osborn, you're not paying for someone who's going to give you that element. You're paying for someone who works the underneath. And do you need to pay $7 million per year, maybe on the high end, to get that from him? I don't think so. I think that if you stack him up against what you got from Powell for dirt cheap, you can probably find that. And you've also got Hockenson to pay, and you've also got Oliver, and maybe whoever's going to fill in for Hockenson while he's hurt. Like, you have other pass catching expenditures that are going to be costly. So it feels like a luxury item to me. If that's the cost, unless he's willing, would you do it for 1 year though? Would you pay him a prove it deal 1 year 6? Like, let's say that's the number. I I think I'd consider that. I think
if
that's
his
the threshold
market's
I'd be
that
okay with.
bad,
Sure.
yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, bad, that's a relative term. I don't think the Vikings are in a spot where they have to sacrifice luxury signings or anything like that. Like, obviously, in order to reduce the void hits of Hunter and Cousins, you have to extend both of them or whatever. But like when you math it out, they actually have quite a bit of cap space. Extend,
Yeah. They're going to
Jefferson, you
sign
reduce that cap hit.
They're going
Like,
to sign a
it's-
lot of guys. Like it's going to be an active free agency. If it's not, I have like questions.
Yeah, no, wait, 100%. Like you can't live in a state where you're like, we're constantly competing. We have to always make the playoffs. And it's
Right.
like, yeah, but we don't have any linebackers.
Yeah. Right. Like you can't sit on you can't like annihilate the roster in the way that they did last year and then just sit on that cap space.
Well,
Which
I know
it's
it's a fluid
important, by the way,
situation.
for people to
About how
remember.
much money do they have? About that you guys are, kind
So
of.
if you just look at it,
They can clear up
like
yeah,
today,
like,
right?
like 24, if you do extensions for Jefferson and Hunter in the way that Brzezinski usually structures them, it goes up to about 40, and then it kind of depends on what you do with Kirk Cousins.
So how
Yeah.
are they saving money on Hunter? Like I know what's the dead number on him?
It's like 14,
Like 14 mil,
Oh,
but
14.9.
it's how
But
many void
you
years is
have
it?
to
2 or
take
3?
7 of that no matter what happens.
Yep.
So if you extend him, 7 of that is still dead this
Is-
year.
So
And
just
the
the
other
way
7
that-
is deferred into the future.
Yes.
And then it's like whatever extra money that you give him.
crap
Yeah,
load of
so
new
it-
money though coming in.
So you extend JJ and Hunter, it moves it up to about 40. You let Kirk walk. You got to chew and eat that 28 though, so you're back down to like 12.
No,
If
that
you let
already
Kirk-
includes the
if you
28.
If you let Kirk
That's
walk,
right.
you do
Okay,
have-
yeah, that's right. Okay.
right.
Mhm.
But if you extend Kirk, 28 of that, so 14 of that 28 goes away with an extension.
Or defers is
defers.
paid later.
No, it disappears. No, yeah, it defers.
Yeah.
It magically
It's
disappears.
just gone.
Yeah.
But
Feels
yeah,
like it sometimes.
right? The future is fake, and these are all negative interest loans.
It's
so
you're deferring payment on a loan with no interest.
negative.
Tell a Wall Street guy that you could do that, and he's going to do that all the
a
time.
negative 7% interest loan. That's what you're doing. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
right. Yeah,
The
because
Saints figured this out ages
you could
ago.
just like make money off inflation. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Man. The
So,
Saints cap is hilarious.
Yeah, so
Yeah, they do this like crazy every year.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you can clear up a lot of space really quickly. So I'm comfortable with luxury signings like KJ Osborn. I'll be honest, I thought Ivan Pace had a really phenomenal year. He was really good at what he was asked to do.
Mhm.
I am extremely nervous about the idea that he plays 1,000 snaps.
Mhm.
So I think that there should be 1 or 2 starting linebackers added, whether that's bringing back Jordan Hicks or signing another guy and drafting a guy. I don't know. But
Yeah, give me a big linebacker, like a run
yeah,
thumper.
I mean, it doesn't have to be 6'5", but if it's under 6'3", I've got questions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Not
I don't know
everybody's
if I would.
Anthony Barr, Jordan Hicks.
I don't know if I'd kick the tires on Jordan Hicks again. I think you got
He was good last year.
I would.
You
shocked.
got
Yeah.
a good year out of him.
I
the
didn't
tempting
think
you
I
got.
would say that last year at this time.
Yeah, no, I think
here,
it's fair to say,
but-
hey, you can't just chase the one good year he's had in the last 5. But he's got the same coordinator now.
Mhm.
I would kick the tires on him. I don't think he's going to command a huge deal, but I agree that you shouldn't once you sign him, be like, all right, we're good. I agree in that respect that you can't just sit on your laurels by grabbing him. You got to think of him as like a bridge quarterback, right? But at linebacker, where you're like, we could let Ivan Pace take his job, or we could let this guy that we drafted take his job, or we took a flyer on a failed first-round pick for another team to take his job, which that actually worked for Drew Tranquil, I think. Wait, was he a first-round pick? I don't remember.
Tranquil, yeah.
I think the former Chargers note, Denzel Perryman. I'm confusing all my West Coast linebackers. But these things happen, right? So, take a couple of flyers, let Jordan Hicks be kind of your floor, and then let someone rise above it, that kind of thing. And it wouldn't cost you too much money, and the Vikings have more money than you think they do.
We've got plenty coming up, including Ron Johnson, tight end free agents, and Super Bowl bets after this on the Minnesota Football Party. Today's episode brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue, a class exclusive Google built in as your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. The Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure, and the Nissan Incredible lineup also includes the 2024 Nissan Armada. Will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. Tow bigger and explore further in the 2024 Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com.
Dude, is my next car adventure going to be a Nissan? That'll be very exciting.
A Nissan Armada, Pathfinder, or Rogue, you bet. We thank the everydayers for tuning in, watching us here on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Plenty of other programming as well. We are on Mondays and Thursdays. Basketball party on Wednesdays. What's wrong with the Wolves right now? And Tuesdays, the Ron Johnson Show. Fridays, the Roundtable with Carol Evans, Julia Daniels, and Reggie Wilson. And speaking of the Wolves, by the way, Luke Inman doing the postcast after every game with Jack Borman doing a phenomenal job. While we wait for Ron Johnson, let's get into our free agent targets. We just talked some wide receiver. Let's look at tight end. And Kevin Seifert wrote the story today about TJ Hockenson and his health and how a pup activation, extremely likely for TJ Hockenson. He'll probably miss the first 4 games with his ACL recovery. So do you trust Josh Oliver as your tight end 1 with kind of a no-name behind him, or do you bring in fortification at that position for someone that can catch in volume or be your tight end 1 while TJ Hockenson is out? Luke Inman, take it away.
Well, Johnny Munt, too, always seems to be in the good graces of KOC. I would love to know how much money compared to the rest of the league they've got tied up in their 2 tight ends compared to the rest of the league, because they got to be near the top.
Yeah,
I would think.
I got you on this. 1 second.
Yeah, I would love that. But they kept Nick Muse around as well, so they obviously like the way he's developing, enough anyways to use a roster spot on him. You can draft another one on day 3 if you really want, but I don't, even with him on the pup, unless they knew, and I know the pup's no joke. I mean, 4 weeks is 4 weeks, but unless they knew, okay, there's a good chance he's going to be, out at least half the season, if not more. I just don't really see a world where they're going to go spend, another 4, 5, 6 million on another tight end. Just for this interim period for this year or 2 while Hockenson's hurt. So too many other pressing needs. I mean, as fun as it is to think about, bringing in somebody like Noah Fant, who's a free agent, bring back the 2019 Hawkeyes tight end room. It's just not Madden, guy. Like, we can't turn the salary
that would be
off.
Fun.
So
that would
I don't see it.
I think they got to get like a pass catcher of some kind, right? Like, so PFF has finally, it took them a while, gotten around to their free agency rankings, and I'm looking through like their top, because it's like top 150 or whatever, right? And it's like, obviously the Vikings are not going to sign Dalton Schultz, right? So that's not going to happen.
5th in tight end spending next year. 5th.
Piece.
God,
Okay,
who's the other 4 teams that's spending more money in that?
How are they not highest?
Wow.
Saints, 49ers, Jets,
Saints?
and Falcons.
Saints? Who's
What
the
the
2
Saints
tight ends
do?
for the Saints?
Taysom Hill is a tight end.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
Is that
Yeah.
Tyler Conklin making a bunch of money, or
Tyler Conklin is
Jets?
making a lot of money on the Jets.
It-
Also, it's the Saints,
for
so who
him.
knows where that money's
Yeah,
probably from like
yeah,
2014.
oh yeah,
These
that's
are all-
Taysom Hill for the
Yeah,
Saints.
Yeah, it's Taysom Hill.
That makes
It's Taysom
sense.
Hill. But it's also
makes
it's also like military accounting, where it's like they're not really spending $500 on a toilet seat. That's like, that's
Yeah. Oh, the Saints are a money laundering organization.
Yeah,
That's
easy.
always been.
That's a write-off. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to write that off. That's fine.
But so I'm like looking through this. I'm like, I don't even think that like the Vikings should be spending for like a Gerald Everett, right? He's like
Right.
$5.5 million a year
Kind of like
tight end. I like him, right? But so you have to be like bargain hunting, right? You have to be like, do I like Austin Hooper still? Does he still have it? Whatever it was at his peak, right? And Austin Hooper's fine. He's like reliable as a pass catcher. The other ones on the top 150 is next to Austin Hooper, I'm not as huge on, like Adam Trotman and Mike Gesicki. I think I'm just kind of out on both of them. For a guy that is going to be primarily depth, and for the first, 4 or so games, going to be kind of a pass catcher, I don't want like a high variance flyer type dude. I want a guy that I'm just like, yeah, he'll get you 3 catches a game.
Yep.
Yeah,
know
you
what
just
you're
need
getting.
somebody that runs stick, which Josh Oliver can do fine. But yeah, he's not going to be like explosive.
You can bring Irv back.
There you go.
Whoa.
I say that Josh Oliver had like a bunch of hilarious explosive plays, but obviously those were just like flats that were wide open. I am personally rooting
college, man. So different.
I'm personally rooting for Adam Troutman because of how funny it would be, because the Saints traded their entire day 3 on 2020 to get to the Vikings to get Adam Troutman, which ended up with a bunch of Vikings. I think Metellus came out of that one.
Love that.
Incredibly funny for him to end up on the Vikings. I'm rooting for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking through some of these other
Jalen
free
Reagor
agents.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
right.
very much a Jalen
Right.
Reagor vibe. Also,
Yeah.
I don't think he's very good at all. So whatever. But I'm here
Yeah,
to
it's going to
for
be
hilarity.
Yeah.
Let's get Ron Johnson in here too.
Oh, cool. But yeah, just real quick before we get Ron to speak.
Yeah, go ahead, Arif.
Flyers on like Tanner Hudson,
Mhm.
Anthony Ferkser. I mean, these are like older guys. Tyler Croft is still kicking around. That's crazy to me.
What?
You could bring back the Belldozer, Blake Bell.
There we go.
There you
Yeah,
go. I like
okay.
that.
I think we just solved the problem.
1 year, 1.5 mil. There you go. Done.
Perfect.
Yeah. So you
Yeah, all these guys are like vet min dudes. Like
Yeah.
That might be the
Gesicki
play.
would also be very
I
funny.
think that's the play. I think that's the
We
play.
can't
would be
have bad
funny. I
gritties.
just
We
can't
can't
handle
have bad Gesicki gritties. That just doesn't.
So Hockenson, though, starting out on the pup,
unacceptable.
though, that's huge.
I think
it
it's
makes
likely.
sense. Yeah.
I think it's likely. Ron Johnson's in. He's a former NFL wide receiver, host of the Ron Johnson Show at 3Ron Johnson on Twitter /X. Ron, we're speculating about what to do at tight end with TJ Hockenson likely going to spend a few weeks on the pup to start the year. How confident are you in Josh Oliver as a number one guy if he needs to be for the first month of the season?
I don't think it would be Josh Oliver. I'm guessing it would be Johnny Munt. Johnny Munt's going to give you a little bit more of that true tight end feel. Josh Oliver is tight end too. So if it's not Johnny Munt, then I'm guessing they're going to go out and try to find somebody. But Josh Oliver, the routes they need out of a TJ Hockenson type of tight end, Josh Oliver can't do it. But it's not a bad thing. He's not that guy. Like, he is a really good, strong blocking tight end. He's an up the seam, in the middle, hook curl type of guy. He's not a stretch the field tight end. So my guess is to be Johnny Munt. And then from there, they might try to, look at some free agents out there, some opportunities to bring a guy in. But the fact that Justin Jefferson is now saying, he wants to break the bank, I don't know if there's any more money out there. So this is going to be interesting offseason.
Yeah, Ron, what'd you make of those comments? I mean, to me, it's kind of sounded fine. Like, he wants to be part of the Vikings. He also wants to make a lot of money. And those, that are good at the cap tell me that you can even if he's breaking the bank, you can at least structure it so that it's light up front. So you can maybe save money early and then it piles up late. But what'd you make of those comments from JJ?
They're fine. I mean, he can make them, but it's also, you look at a lot of men and women. There's a lot of men that see these women and they just try to say, this is what I want out of a woman. This is what I'm going to get out of her. And then 5 years later, you're like, oh, you marry somebody else. Yeah, because she didn't want to give you that. Like, so you could say whatever you want, and Justin Jefferson can say that about the Vikings, but this might not be the marriage for them. If the number is too high and it's going to take them out of, like, you can't pay Kirk, TJ Hockenson, Justin Jefferson, and somebody on defense. Like, they're going to have to figure out where they can, pick and save and what's going to matter the most. I mean, when you think about Randy Moss going, leaving the Vikings, it happens a lot where eventually you just can't afford one of the two. Saquon Barkley and the Giants, like, you can't pay Saquon and Daniel Jones. Like, it doesn't work in the way this works, the salary cap, where you look at the Chiefs, it's Patrick Mahomes. There's not a lot of big name numbers out there for them right now that are like, oh, they're boggling down their money. When you look at the 49ers, Brock Purdy is cheap. So it's one or the other. And that's where the Vikings are going to have to kind of figure this out. Like, is it time to move? If you're paying Justin a ton of money, you're probably moving on from Kirk. And I think that's where the rubber is going to meet the road. Like, it just all can't work out. Like, unless you're Thanos and you got a glove that you can just do whatever you want. Other than that, it's just not enough money out there for that.
The Infinity Stones are all void years.
Quick straw poll of the room.
You take the green stone and then you just rewind time and you go back and you find other stuff. You just
There you go. If Jefferson were to be traded, would this be a more devastating departure than Randy Moss? I say yes.
I think it'd be
No.
an instantly fireable offense to trade.
No,
Justin
I don't think
Jefferson.
it's worse than
what are
Randy
you getting
Moss.
back? Are you getting, a Troy Williamson and
Well, that's a
Napoleon
good point.
Harris?
Yeah.
Or am I getting 3 first
Yeah, you're
rounders?
getting draft picks you
More-
can miss on. Yeah, that's the deal.
He could even be a boat.
But just
Yeah,
losing
let's
the
take
player.
the best player on any offense that isn't a quarterback in the league and turn him into a whole bunch of like high risk assets. You don't get to be mad when that dude turns into Lewis Seen. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for
Yeah.
Justin
It'll
Jefferson
be fine.
to
We
move
got
on
we'll
and
replace
trade
with the
him.
next Jalen Reagor. Yeah.
I mean, to trade Justin Jefferson, here's the thing. I don't even know if that's the answer. If it's like, can they find a deal that gets him a ton of freaking money up front? He still feels like he's the highest paid guy, or he's had the biggest contract ever for signing bonus. Something stupid like, hey, here's $100 million signing bonus day one, and then let's trickle in the rest. Like let's give you small amounts. Your overall ends up being, call it 150, but maybe it's $100 million signing bonus, like something absolutely stupid that they could figure out a way to balance
honestly,
it.
not the worst idea.
An unrestructurable
It's-
contract. I love
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, just figure out a way to move
No,
it
it's-
where,
yeah.
hey, you're going to get your 100 mil, but here's the other pieces of this money. Like, can you get us to an NFC Championship game? Can you get us to a Super Bowl? All that will have all the escalators you want to get you to 200 million, if you want to call that. But you got to get us to a Super Bowl. You got to get us to an NFC Championship. We got to make the playoffs. Like, we can't just pay you a ton of money and we're gonna, be 7-4. Staring down the barrel of
Hold on,
the
are
Lions.
you proposing like a $20 million per year escalator for every Super Bowl appearance and playoffs?
Something, I don't know. He's got to there's ways to do it. Like if you look at Michael Vick's old contract, when people talk about that one, like his was hugely elevated to like escalators. We had the same agent. That's the only reason I knew that. And when you look at Octagon, go back to Octagon Sports, Michael Vick contract, when they're like, oh, this is the biggest quarterback contract. Half that stuff was like incentives. And that's how you do it though. Like you put that carrot to say, hey man, you got to show up for 80% of your workouts. You got to show up for, 95% of this. You got to be healthy day one of practice. You got to do, like, you could put a lot of stuff on there to make sure, you don't end up paying this guy and then he's out for, 2 more years or something like Deshaun Watson.
The problem is either you put in incentives that he's already hit, in which case it already counts against the cap, or incentives that he has no control over, like winning a Super Bowl, right? Which his agent would just like not agree to. Right?
I mean, but you can still throw it in there to make it a historical contract because we won't.
Oh no, okay,
that
you're right.
So you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a thing.
true.
Like sometimes people have to like do
Yeah.
certain things to make their partner feel good. So in a marriage, what you don't want is for the Vikings to feel robbed, and then at every turn, the organization is like, oh, we got to move this contract. This is not working for us. We're not going to the playoffs. We done paid to do a ton of money, and the only things we're getting from this is commercials and gritty. Vice versa, you can't give him a contract where everybody in the media is like, oh man, the Vikings punched Justin Jefferson in the stomach. Like that's so weak, man. Like da.
Don't Danielle Hunter this.
And then you get the like, let's go look at the Buffalo Bills. Oh, let's go look at the Eagles. Oh, let's go look at the Chiefs because Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson is going to be like Tom Brady and Randy Moss all over again. There's a lot of factors in that. So
don't do that. Don't.
It feels really good. We're really primed here to be mad no matter what happens.
Right.
That's
and this is it. But
yeah.
you got to find a way to
Getting
make
sick.
him happy. So when I
The
say
mistake
make it
here was drafting a good
historical,
player. It sounds
you
like.
can give him 150 million. Like if you have 150 million, you give it to him, and then you throw some incentives in there to say, hey man, you got a $200 million or $220 million contract. And you're right, Arif, like you could throw some stuff in there that he has no control over. Like, hey, if you go to Super Bowl, man, we're gonna give you a $5 million bonus. If you go to NFC Championship game, we'll give you $1 million bonus. Like there's a lot of things. Hey, if you get 2,000 yards every year, you get 2,000 yards. Here's your bonus. Like there's a lot of things you can throw, or 1,800, then there's 1,900, then there's 2,000 yards. You break that record. Here's the money. Like you make the Pro Bowl. You get all pro. Like there's a lot of things you can throw in there that are attainable. And then there's some stuff that, like it literally comes down to your team, but you still have a chance to get it. So
You know who would absolutely agree to a contract incentive for an impossible amount of yards? Adrian Peterson. Like, there's a bonus in here for 2,500 rushing yards. He's like, got it. I'm good.
He would today.
Or
Yeah, he
100
was-
receiving yards, which is more unlikely.
So there's a lot you can do there. I mean, like catches, you can throw catch incentives in there. You can throw, but and again, it's all about cap and how can Rob Brzezinski look at the cap space and massage it to say, hey, look, man, we gonna give it. It's guaranteed. Here's your guarantee. but can we spread this out over? And then you come up with a number that him and his agent agree with, like, because you don't want to sign a 10-year contract, and you also don't want to sign a 4-year contract. Like, you got to find a number that works for both parties. And I think that's what they're trying to do. Now, if he wants to be a lifetime Viking, didn't Patrick Mahomes do that? Didn't he sign a 10-year contract? Like $450 million or something?
Is bad for him.
So I mean,
they'll restructure.
I'm not saying Justin Jefferson do that, but there's always weird things out there like that. You can just do something crazy to say I'm a Viking for life, and then like the dude, the Morris twin. He got the keys to the city in Philly, and then a month ago or 2 weeks ago, and he got traded yesterday. Like, you just got the keys to the city, you cried on the podium, and then they traded you 2 weeks later. Like,
I don't follow the NBA at all. Are we talking about the Kansas Marcus and Markieff Morris?
Yes. Yep. He got the keys to the city in Philly for the 76ers.
Right.
Wow.
They had him on the podium. He was crying. He was so happy because of all the stuff he does for the community. And they were telling him, "Oh, we're never going to do this." They did the same thing to
City of Love,
the other dude for the Bucks. They had him. He was on a podcast with the team talking about, "I love the Bucks. I love the Bucks," and then they traded him to the Trailblazers for Damian Lillard. So, like, that's the thing. Justin Jefferson can sign a 10-year deal and say he loves the Vikings. He never wants to leave. Yeah, he never wants to leave Minnesota. And then they can restructure or trade him 2 years from now. So, yeah, I mean, I just think you got to make both parties happy, but you do need to stroke his ego a little bit. Like, for somebody to get on camera and say, "I want the bank to be broken," like, you got to stroke his ego to keep him happy.
Remember when he said a couple of yeyears ago, when people were asking him about the Tyreek Hill contract, and he said, "I'm not too fond of money." Boy, are we putting that to the test.
Okay, how long until the Shohei Ohtani structure meets the NFL, comes to the NFL? Is that even possible?
New CBA,
I don't
fully guaranteed.
It can't be deferred in the NFL.
Yeah, I think the CBA prevents it. Yeah,
because there's a salary cap. Like Bobby Bonilla was one of the first ones to do that. So it's not Shohei Ohtani. It's Black History Month. Bobby Bonilla did that first. The blasphemy of you to do that on Black History Month, to forget the most historic contract ever by a baseball player, was Bobby Bonilla, who deferred his money. He walked so Shohei Ohtani could run. He definitely got it started. But yeah, he deferred his money. I think he has like 4 or 5 more years left on his.
Yeah, I was about to say we're nearing the end of.
Yeah, it's coming to the end, but he got like $1.1 million every single year and has not touched the diamond because that's how they structured. They deferred it. So Shohei Ohtani wants to do the same thing. I'll defer my $700 million, but I'm gonna get it. So give me whatever you give me right now, $2-3 million. I'll take it. But yeah, football, you can't do it because of the salary cap, and then the CBA, because what they don't want is guys in the NFL to get done dirty and never see that money because they snorted coke and killed somebody in Vegas. So yeah.
Hey, I met Bobby Bonilla in a New York lobby, and I saw him pay his hotel bill, and he pulled out the biggest wad of cash. I'm like 12.
You're kidding.
The biggest
wad of cash.
He paid his hotel
bill in cash?
Cash.
Hey,
money.
That he didn't put the hotel under his name. That's why. You can't have no records of I was here.
I don't want him to know what I rented on pay-per-view last night.
But you can put cash. You can put a credit card down there and say, no, I'm paying cash. Like that was just a
Okay, here's one for you, Ron. Your Ryan Poles, the future of the franchise hinges on your moves this offseason. Are you going to stockpile more picks, get another King's ransom for that number 1 pick? Are you going to run it back with Justin Fields, or are you going to go chalk what everybody assumes is going to happen, hit the reset button, draft Caleb Williams, try to move Justin Fields for, a second or third round pick?
Well, the fact that Justin Fields tore the Vikings up like down the stretch of that game, I think there is ways to make him better. Luke Getsy clearly was not the answer. Alex Brown came on our show, former Bear, and former Bear.
Hope Justin Fields doesn't get traded to the Raiders.
Former Bear Alex Brown said Luke Getsy and Justin Fields can't coexist. Like just the philosophies don't work. The way he calls the plays, the way Justin needs to play. He's like, if they keep Getsy, Justin has to go. If they get rid of Getsy, I think Justin's the guy. So it looks like Justin's going to be the guy. If I were them, I would use that pick. Honestly, I would try to use that, and I would stockpile unless you know you can get Marvin Harrison Jr. and you think that's the answer. I probably and as I said, that's
way
too
good a receiver class to spend your first overall pick on the top guy.
But that's what I'm saying. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is a Hall of Fame generational talent. When you watch his Ohio State film and the plays, I mean, even the Gophers game alone, the Gophers bracketed, double team and triple teamed him, and he still found ways to get open. And he didn't even do it loudly. Like, it was a quiet game of like, oh, he just scored a touchdown. I didn't even realize he was playing today. And then you look at the stats, you're like, oh, okay, he just secretly went out there and had himself a game. Like, that's what he does. His body control, his feet, the way he can just drop anchor like Chris Carter used to do and just get those toes in at the last minute. Like, he was making NFL catches in college where a lot of guys just relied on the 1 foot. He was already doing that. So when I say that, it's sometimes to say, yeah, it's a decent amount of receivers in this draft, but none of them are Maserati Marv. Like, if you put Justin Fields and you give him that weapon, now you give him a true guy where he can close his eyes and say, I'm gonna just throw it up if I got man coverage and treat it like Randy Moss. And that's what the Bears don't have. DJ Moore is another guy that can take the top off. So you partner those two, you get instant offense. You get instant, like, and the fact that they got rid of Montgomery, thank you to the Lions. I know the Lions are happy, but that's even dumb to me. Like, Montgomery looks really good, and the Bears made him look like trash. So hopefully with Justin Fields and they can move on and get it. If I'm them, I go get the best receiver in the draft.
Well, can you imagine? And I know they got Cole Kmet, but if they traded back a couple picks, picked up Harrison at 3 or 4, let's just say, and then took Brock Bowers at 9, now all of a sudden Justin Fields got no excuses now.
Correct. And that's the thing. That's not, if you can guarantee, if you can still do that and guarantee you get Marvin Harrison, the problem is some of these teams that say they want to get a quarterback, they're playing this game. Because they're like, look, we can go find a Brock Purdy and just get Marvin Harrison. I mean, a lot of people, what's his name? Kyle Shanahan is showing the world that, hey, you gotta go scout. Like, you got to get out there on the road. You got to do this. And so, of course, people are always going to say, well, the 49ers knew. Why didn't they draft him earlier? Like, they didn't truly know. But they also said, like, we're not going to let this guy go into free agency. Let's go get him. And I think that's the other thing, too. Sometimes people get a free agent and then they pat themselves on the back. Why didn't you use your 7th-round pick on that guy? Because your 7th-round pick you just cut.
Did you see Matt Rule in the Nebraska presser yesterday say that he really wanted to draft Brock Purdy, but the Carolina Panthers front office vetoed it?
And was that the year they drafted?
I didn't see that.
Let's see who they took.
The Ole Miss kid.
Let's
let's go over it.
2022 draft.
Was that Matt Corral?
Wikipedia.
Yeah, it was Matt Corral.
The Panthers in the 7th round picked. I assume it was the 7th round that we're talking about here.
You just said
day specific, but sure, probably.
Okay, they took Kalon Barnes, the fast one from Baylor. Who isn't he a Viking now?
He's a Viking.
Yeah, he was. He's still
he was.
That's,
from Baylor.
As far as 7th-round picks go, that's not bad. There's no Brock Purdy, I guess, but I also don't believe Matt Rule.
Right. And this is the thing about Brock Purdy, though. So the only reason I saw some of his stuff is because, like, Iowa and Iowa State are not too far from us. And if you look back on, like, some of the games he won, and this is where Matt Rule's completely full of it. But, like, the games people were talking about were, like, the TCU game, for instance, where he lit TCU up. Like, those are the games where, I mean, and of course, now they're starting to put it on social media and showing his reaction after the game as he stands with the band. And he's so, like, he can't believe he just did this. Like, those moments did happen, but again, nobody really knew. People were like, oh, TCU's defense sucks. So, yeah, they probably do, because look what Deion Sanders did to him. You know, like, there's a lot of that in there, too. Like, some of these teams he beat up on that made it far, but then you look at their actual team and, like, y'all sucked, actually. Like, y'all weren't that good. Or maybe it's Brock Purdy. So that's where Brock Purdy got, like, kind of, like, thrown off, because he had some big games, but Iowa State wasn't good. And so that's what happens. But I think the same thing happened to Michigan. Like, Tom Brady had some good games, but Michigan was in a downtime back then. Like, that was that Drew Henson, Tom Brady. I mean, the Gophers and, like, Wisconsin were actually, like, some of the better teams in the Big Ten back then. Yeah. You know, and so, and Purdue, like, with Drew Brees, like, Michigan started to come back, but, like, after Charles Woodson left in 97, it kind of fell off. Like, 98, 99, 2000, they were going to bowl games, but it wasn't like the national championship Michigan.
You're talking about that come from behind Orange Bowl victor Tom Brady against Alabama. Come on, man.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so for Tom Brady, same thing. Like, it's like you're not playing for a national. Like, if Brock Purdy had been at Iowa and had a chance to go to a national championship, and there's no Cooper DeJean fair catch, like, I'm guaranteed people are like, oh, this Brock Purdy kid is really good. Like, he put his team in the Final Four. If he plays for Texas, you know, Brock Ewers all of a sudden now is a 1st-round draft pick if he comes out next year. Like, you know, and then you watch him and you're like, this kid doesn't look that good. Like, he's okay. But that's where I'm going with this. Like, J.J. McCarthy. You put J.J. McCarthy at Iowa State, we're not talking about him in the 1st, 2nd round. Like, you have to show you can win on a big stage, and then coaches just take a look at you. I mean, look at Bryce Young. I hate to say it. He should not have been the 1st overall pick. And that's the problem. If CJ Stroud beats Michigan, everybody's on CJ Stroud's back. And they're like, oh, this kid is really good. And he's going to the playoff. And then he plays in the playoff in the Final Four. And it's all about the narrative. And that's what some of these GMs need to stop worried about.
That's where we're at with Purdy, though. Like it's his moment. He's playing the Super Bowl on Sunday. Like that's
right. And that's why I say some coaches are looking like, well, if I get me an offense, let me go find me a cheap quarterback. Because that's what a lot of people are saying the theory is, like Jalen Hurts and early Patrick Mahomes. Like that's what a lot of people are thinking. Like, can I find a cheap quarterback to just get me to the Super Bowl with a bunch of weapons?
We were actually talking about JJ McCarthy before the show, Ron. It sounds like, are you off him?
No, I'm not off of him. I know he's good. He's 6'3". I just don't want everybody else to be on him. I want everybody to hate him and put him in the second round.
You got to stop eating with his height, dude. That is the least convincing thing you can.
I have bad news for you, Ron. I'm on him.
He's prototypical.
Yeah. You and Luke agree on this now, and
he's a prototype quarterback. And there's a reason why I say height, Arif. There's the only reason I say it. If you watch Bryce Young stand behind the center. If the center stands up, Bryce Young's in trouble. I mean, seriously, like the funniest picture, and it looked fake. I thought that was like somebody's kid was at practice, but when the center,
all offseason I was tweeting out pictures of Bryce Young.
Well, the center stands up and points at the Mike backer, and Bryce Young just looks like it looks like somebody's little brother back there waiting for him to bend back down so he can put his hands under his butt. Like,
have you seen Anthony Richardson's little brother? I think he's bigger.
Oh, he's huge. Yeah. Yeah, he's a huge he's 14. That kid's on steroids.
Yeah.
Like,
oh man,
there's no way he's 14.
We didn't talk a lot of Super Bowl with Ron. We'll save that for the roundtable tomorrow with Julia Daniels and Reggie Wilson. We'll get some Super Bowl predictions. All right, I'm excited to get everyone's take. The
Gatorade's going to be purple.
Gatorade's going to be purple. And we'll
wait. Is that insider info? Because
no, that's just the Illuminati. Profits. It's just way too much like the Christian Hughes check jacket that just came out. Yeah, she's using the logo on that. It's purple and red. The Illuminati's all a part of this. It's gonna be purple Gatorade.
Are you saying it's purple because of the logo, the Super Bowl logo?
I just think it's purple.
It's all part of a larger conspiracy that the logo,
like the movie with Will Smith and Margot Robbie, con artist or whatever it was, or conspiracy, I think.
Yep.
It's throwing stuff out for people to keep seeing it so that we don't even realize what's about to happen. It's purple.
And we've got more Ron conspiracies coming in the morning on the roundtable. So make sure you tune into that. Thanks a lot, Ron. At 3Ron Johnson on Twitter. Ron Johnson Show host on Tuesdays. Good stuff.
It's going to be Prince. He's going to be on the sideline with the Gatorade.
Boom.
And Purple Rain is going to play as he pours it on the coach's head.
The hologram of Prince. I love it.
Exactly.
We'll put together one of our own Super Bowl parlays and get Luke Inman's bet next on the Minnesota Football Party. And we're presented today by Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching and transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Good stuff from Ron Johnson. And now we get to the part Luke Inman's been waiting for. He earned it. He earned $5 from each of us. So $15 bet at least. Now, Luke, you can pitch in whatever you want. You can make it 20. You can make it 30 if you want some skin in the game. But we'll juice 15 onto your bet preference for the Super Bowl. I'll place it on FanDuel as I go to Iowa this weekend. So Luke Inman, I don't know if you want to pool the crowd here and get some suggestions.
I think I would. I would like to make this a group think bet here, so we all got some skin in the game, so we all got something we can talk about and root for during the game. And here's what kind of bums me out. I was actually looking at some odds before Ron came on, and I couldn't believe it. Gatorade red you're getting at 5-1. But then Ron comes on here and says it's going to be purple. And now all of a sudden, my wires are crisscrossed and I don't know what to think. So when I think Gatorade splash, right, I think red every time. Red, maybe orange. Orange, the heavy favorite, 3-1. But now Ron's coming in here with this purple talk, and now I don't know what to think. So I need your guys' 2 cents. What do you guys think about that Gatorade?
What's the odds on orange?
So orange is the favorite at
Orange
3-1.
is the favorite, which
Yellow
was last year.
Okay, that was last year. Okay, yellow and purple are 390. 390. Blue.
I'm going to take orange
440.
at the 3-1 favorite.
Okay, you're running it back.
300.
You think it's going to be the same? Okay, which is still good. I mean, 3-1, tripling your money
that's
there.
pretty good.
What do you guys think?
I was worried
Luke
that
and Sam?
orange would be like plus 100 or something.
Oh wow. Okay.
I also think right under that on FanDuel,
Yeah.
final score to have occurred as past Super Bowl final score. So there's been 50,
Opposite of a
53 or
scoregami?
54. Say what?
Opposite of a scoregami?
Right. Can you match a previous Super Bowl score at plus 410?
Oh, any? Oh, really?
Ooh.
Ooh, I love that.
I like that.
410? I think we should do one on the Gatorade, and we should either do the opposite scoregami, or we should go crazy on a use check, something insane like that. What do you guys think?
The opposite scoregami one sounds really fun.
Okay, how about we do 10
I like
on
the opposite
10?
scoregami.
Okay, let's go 10 on
It feels
orange.
like tradition at this point to also do the use check one now.
Well, maybe we'll do that with Sam when he goes to Iowa.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Let's just all say that we'll chip in another 250. We'll do 10 on use check. We'll do 10 on a color, and we'll do 10 on the anti-scoregami.
I agree to
Opposite
this.
scoregami. All right, and do we feel good about orange? Do we want to listen to Ron and go purple with the Illuminati conspiracies? What do you guys think?
Well, I was almost going to say let's split it, but then we'd have to chip in more, don't we?
No, let's just pick one and just go with
Just
it.
pick one.
Let's do orange.
I would go orange because it was orange before. It's a lot of the same guys.
I like it.
And
I'm fine with
if the
that.
49ers
3-1,
win, who
I
knows,
feel
but
good about
yeah.
that. 3-1 as the favorite.
I gotta
Right.
Just
It's like the odds or whatever.
All right. See you, Arif.
See you, Reef.
Arif's got a roll. Okay. So we like orange. Even though it's paying the worst odds, we still think we're gonna.
tripling your
I mean,
money,
it's
though,
it's
3-1.
300 or 350 or 390. It's like whatever. Pick the color you think it's going to
I'm
be.
gonna be really bummed if it's red, but I feel a lot less confident about red now than I did 20 minutes ago. Let's just put it.
All right. This is what I have in my bet slip right now to try to win. Not quite the $1 million that I promised, but I think that 100 to win 44,000. Use check anytime TD, Mahomes anytime TD, and then juice the Chiefs. Like, let's just buy in on the Chiefs. Like Chiefs minus 6.5, right? Because they're the underdog, and you can, if they win by a touchdown, you get like +2 and change.
I like it. Yeah.
And then one more Chiefs touchdown score because they're going to win by a touchdown. So like a Valdez Scantling or someone somewhat obscure gets you like 44 grand for 100.
Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, so someone else random. I think that's one that I would like. I think trying to hit like one for each team, and then maybe one more on top of that, or not. We could try a few things, but that's all the time we have. We'll text about it, and we'll let people know what we chose.
Oh, we're still
Luke,
recording, huh? We're still going.
Anti-scoregami, orange Gatorade, and what was the third one? Use check. TD.
And use check TD.
Book it to win something like $200 total. Those will hit guaranteed, and we'll brag about it on Monday's Minnesota football party. For Arif, who's gone, for the Lukes, I'm Sam. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you after the Super Bowl.